as the headline suggests, Saudi Arabia overtaking China as the top EM dollar issuer. How significant is that shift for global capital markets, and what's driving it?
Thank you for having me. Yes, definitely we have seen a great increase of the USD issuance of Saudi Arabia and pretty much across the GCC. This is very significant because it's shifting the risk from the typical EM Asia centered issuance across the world and shifting it to GCC. We see around $17 billion year to date on what Saudi has been doing, which is the leader in the GCC region. And we believe that this is going to go forward. We're thinking that there's still a lot of fuel in the tank for Saudi. We're thinking about 12 billion more until the end of the year.
Okay, wow. Interestingly, just looking over the report as well, the GCC making up a quarter of all EM USD issuance last year. What does that tell us about the maturity of the GCC in the global debt conversation now? And what are the other factors that are driving this renewed interest in this space?
Well, definitely, like everything lately, it's about geopolitics, right? We have seen that China has been rather focusing on something that is more local, something a little bit more inward-looking and also local currency denominated, whereas Saudi and, to be honest, once again, other GCC countries have been seeing a little bit more of a wider range of issuance across the board on all the terms that we have. We have seen many interesting issuances of 2, 8, and 10-year across Saudi, and also from Aramco and PIF. There has been a lot of corporate activity over there. What this means is that investors are looking closer to Saudi and the GCC as a very interesting place to actually place their liquidity. And the good thing is that Saudi Arabia is only 1/16 of actually what China's economy is right now. And then the debt dynamics of Saudi look very, very healthy. We're looking at only 30% of debt to GDP in gross terms, which is something very interesting and paints a better picture moving forward.
Interestingly, we also saw GCC Sukuk volumes up around 43% last year as well. Take me inside the Sukuk space. Obviously, seeing renewed interest from investors looking at this part of the world. Would you say Sukuks are now a mainstream EM funding tool?
Well, definitely this is something regional based, but it's something very, very interesting. The Sukuks are coming from, once again, PIF and Aramco thinking on those terms. This is definitely something that goes a little bit more into the region itself. It plays a little bit into the local, into the regional, market of the GCC itself. And it seems that Saudi, as much as other actors in the area, are taking note of this. And it's going to be something really interesting to see this EM to EM dynamics that we're seeing lately, not only in the GCC region, but across all the EM complex. In EM Asia, we're looking at something similar, but the Sukuks are just one more evidence that there's a shift in paradigm on actually how markets are behaving, what people are buying, and this retrenchment of the classic EM dynamics, and we're looking at something very different. Probably this is founded once again in geopolitics, in the weakening of the dollar in the last few months, but also in the renewed interest that EMs have on EMs themselves and investors from EMs have on EMs themselves. This shapes a very interesting view in the coming years.
And there are some really interesting drivers here. You mentioned geopolitics, you mentioned the weakening in the USD. Do you think the growth of Gulf DCM is also being driven by some of the fiscal pressures that we're seeing on these economies from lower oil as well? And would you say that falling oil prices could actually accelerate bond issuance regionally?
Yes, definitely. That's a very important driver, and thanks for noting that. The fall down of actually the oil revenues because of expectation that we have and the dynamics inside of OPEC are something that definitely is pushing actors in the region, especially Saudi Arabia, but others to actually have a greater issuance itself. But it's also on the other side, if you want, the demand of fiscal needs that many countries across the EM market are going to have. when you have a reorganization of global supply chains, when you have global shocks as trade or geopolitics themselves, you're going to see fiscal taking the lead rather than anything else for countries, because they have to retool their investments, they have to retool their supply chains, they have to support their general population, and fiscal is going to be the name of the game moving forward. Having said that, Saudi always tries to push this into everything else. And with oil actually not taking so much of center stage in Saudi, we believe that issuance is going to be something that is going to be more important moving forward.